right, this is John Prestel with the Peace of Justice Organization and the Father's Care Movement. I'm here with Mr. Paul Bailey today. Paul Bailey has been so kind to share his story with me about what he's going through with, child support, child custody. One of the critical components of the movement, as I've said, is to have fathers tell their stories, to tell what we're going through, because that will galvanize the coalition, it will bring us together, and it will create the momentum that we need to get things changed. So I met Mr. Bailey here at work, maybe not even a year ago, and recently I found out that he's a single father, and what some of the things he's going through with child custody and child support. So, Mr. Bailey, if you could just, I know we already talked about some of the things you went through, but if I recall correctly, you have 3 children, right? You have 4 children. One unfortunately passed away.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And you have 3 children. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've gone through with your battle with just seeing your children, and also with dealing with child support?
Well, I like to say visitation rights. There was no such thing. They pretty much play their own hand. They let you see your kids when they want you to see them. So, I mean, for me, it was periodically. I would call and say, hey, let me, can I get my son today, or can I get my daughter today? And it would be like you're on a waiting list or something like that. You know what I mean? Basically. But now, ever since the child support has been dropped, I see them frequently. All my kids, I see them frequently. The summertime, I have them. Me and the mother, we co-parenting. Everything's cordial right now, so I have no complaints as of now. But prior, it was like it was hell, man. Honestly.
So did you actually fight in court with each one of your kids, or did you just pretty much just had to deal with what was dealt?
I basically had to deal with what was dealt.
Is that
I didn't have the funds at the time to even hire a lawyer or anything like that. And when you call the child support office, they give you no information pertaining to your case other than how much you owe, or when the last time you paid or something like that. They don't give you no information as of getting visitation rights or getting. Well, they do legitimize you, but that's about it. That's the only information they give me.
So before you said you're at a better place now, but when it was at its worst, how often were you able to see your children?
Honestly, I would say my daughter, she's 11 now, but prior to me getting her now, she was about 6, so it took that long. Like, I'm still having problems, like, recognizing that my daughter is in the 6th grade, man. That's how long it's been, My son's pretty much the same. He stayed here in Georgia where I live. She stayed in North Carolina, so it's a little different. But the same situation, It didn't matter that he stayed in the same state as I did. Mm-hmm. I still didn't get to see him like I wanted to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, let me get my, is it all right if I get my son this weekend so we can do such and such? No, I think he's going with so-and-so, or, nothing more important than the mother and the father. So everything else was irrelevant, So that's what I have to say on that note right there.
And so as far as child support goes, if I remember correctly, you said at one point you were making like $8.50 an hour at UPS, and what was your...
about $8 and something. And it got even worse. I mean, when I moved to North Carolina, I sold everything I had. I went up there with a little money, so that quickly diminished. Got a job for like $7 and a quarter or something like that. That's the country life. So, you really don't have a choice, and, you don't want to sit on your behind and wait on somebody to give you something, but you couldn't pay no bills with $7.25. Plus they're garnishing your check.
Your child support,
yeah.
$400, $426 for your son?
About $450 something, $455 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then you had a daughter, and that was what, $500 or something like that?
It was about close to the same thing, a little more. So just almost under $1,000 a month.
And how long was it? I remember you telling me that you weren't initially on child support, but you were taking care of your son.
Oh yeah.
Taking care of him. You were keeping
Daycare.
receipts. You know, daycare was, I think you said, was $125 a week, and you were keeping receipts on things you bought him and all that stuff.
Definitely.
And then when you went to court, you brought those receipts with you.
In a bag, I brought everything with me.
You brought that with you, but
The
they didn't want to
judge-
hear that.
Definitely, the judge didn't want to hear anything. You know, he basically just threw it out of court, basically. You know, and basically listened to what she had to say. The only thing he told me was, "Hey, you need to pay this by such and such at this amount." You know, that's the only thing I got from the judge.
So when you initially were put on child support, you had to deal with, you know, child support in arrears, what you owed from the amount of time that you weren't on child support.
And it was like well past the amount that I would have sitting around, me being that I only made $10 an hour at the time that I was put on child support for my daughter. So I'm like, $2,500 bucks. What do you mean? How am I in the reels already? I just got on it. I just got on the paper. So, you know, it was somebody to understand. You know, something they well understood.
Yeah.
You know.
And something that a lot of people don't know is if you're, say for example, you have a child and you're, and for the first 5-6 years, I know somebody else who was in the situation. For the first 5-6 years, you're not on child support, but you're taking care of them. You're paying medical bills. You're paying their health insurance. You're buying, you know, food, clothing, all that stuff. You're contributing. You know, in the state of Georgia and in many other states, all that money that you contribute before you are officially on child support is considered a gift.
Right.
They have the audacity to tell you that all the money you spent on your children before you were put on child support is considered a gift. And that's what, you know, that's from what I hear, that's what you were faced with.
Yes.
So, and you were never able to get out of arrears, were you?
Yeah, I was like backed in the corner, man. Let me see, my he's about to be 15 in June. So I was on child support ever since he was about 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I never been able to just shake it. You know, I wasn't able to get any income tax money back at the end of the year. Nothing. I mean, it was pretty much hell, definitely.
And you know, as you know, as most people know, they can, if you don't, if you're not able to pay your child support, they can put you in jail. They can
Right.
suspend your license. What did you experience when you couldn't pay?
It was like harassment, letters back and forth. When I would go down to the office, you know, I would just get these crazy stares. I mean, like I'm a deadbeat or something. I just didn't have a job, you know, to provide for myself and my family at the time. Mainly because they suspended my license. You know, you can't find a well-paying job without a license. I mean, that's impossible. I mean, unless you know, a computer guy or, you know, a guy that can, you know, that has a skill to provide such. You know? So I was basically much stuck in a corner, you know,
And like
for
you
a
said-
while.
And like you said, they look at you like you're
A criminal or
like a
a
criminal.
deadbeat, you
You
know.
go into the courtroom or you go to the child support office, and I can testify. You know, I've known Mr. Bailey for almost a year now, and you know, just observing him at work. You know, he is a very hard worker. He's always moving, always always has something in his hand, always going from one place to another. You know, trying to get some work done. So it's not like you know, he's someone who is allergic to the idea of work. But yet, you know, a lot of times when you go into the courtroom, and when many fathers go into the courtroom, the fathers out there who have experienced this, you know, you go into the courtroom and you're looked at as a deadbeat dad. You go into the child support office, you're looked at as a deadbeat dad. So when you went to court, not knowing, when you walk into court, not knowing what the judge is going to say, like how does that feel? Not knowing that, you know, whether they're going to suspend your license or whether they're going to put you in jail. Or you told me about one story where you said you was in there. You were in court.
Oh yeah.
And a guy, they called one guy.
It was 2 guys in the courtroom, and they went before I did. And the judge, I think the judge told me they owed like 18 or 20,000. I hadn't reached that far at the time. I was like $5,000 at the time. So I'm like, man, that's a lot. Then mine reached 30. I'm like, oh man, that's way past what they owe. But to make a long story short, the guy basically said he didn't have any funds. He was incarcerated for like 6 months already. So how are he able to get out and make money if he's locked up?
He was incarcerated for not paying child support.
Right.
So he was in there for 6 months, and they're asking, okay, do you have the money now?
Right.
So, no, you don't have any. you don't have any way to make money.
Mm-hmm. And the judge basically said, hey, take him back.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want to hear nothing else. If you don't have any funds, something to pay on it, put forward,
Mm-hmm.
send him back. He did the other guy the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unlawful, man. You shouldn't do stuff like that.
Yeah, because in America, if I understand the Constitution correctly, you're supposed to, if you're going to be charged with something, you need to be charged with it and have a speedy trial.
Right.
You're not supposed to be. This is a country where you can't just be locked up and sit in jail just in perpetually, in perpetuity.
I feel bad for those guys, man. They seem like decent guys, and just they might have slipped in a situation just like I did. In my situation, I was planning on marriage. All that good stuff. But the tables flipped.
Right.
They got the best of me, and I was down for over 10 years. 10 years faithfully. I was just on my behind, just not sitting on my behind, but I was basically financially on my behind. I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it forced me out into the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I was out there for a while. I hate I had to do such and such, but they left me no choice. They put a warrant out for my arrest, so basically I had to stay with different family members,
Mm-hmm.
back and forth. And I just wasn't able to take care of myself like I should.
So eventually, and this really surprised me when I first spoke to you about this, you told me that you're now off child support. You eventually got off child support.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
Basically started with my son's mother. Shout out to her. We're on good terms right now. But she was talking to one of her professors in college or something like that, and she just basically figured out, hey, it's only hindering us, as a whole, as a collective group, as a family, not immediate family because I'm not with her anymore, but
Right.
basically, if I'm not doing well, my kids are not doing well. My
Right.
kids are not doing well, that means their mother and their father is something wrong there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a good situation for either of us.
So it started. So she spoke to her professor, a professor who convinced her that there's a better way to go about doing this.
Right. Also, he told her about the ins and outs, the do's, the don'ts, the bad stuff, the bad side of the story, with the driver's license, and basically, they're not your friends.
The things that the system do
Right.
to basically beat a man down,
Mm-hmm.
when he's in this situation.
They're only looking for their cut. We know this already. It's a business.
Right. It is a business.
It's a business. So they were looking out for their half.
Right.
They didn't even when she tried to take me off of the child support, they gave her a hard time. So
Right. Yeah.
they just looking out for their pockets.
One thing that a lot of people don't know, speaking of Mr. Bailey mentioned how it's a business. I didn't know this until I received my final child support order. There's an administrative fee. I think it's like $1.50 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And I paid attention to that fee, that $1.50, because I'm like, okay, even though my child support is $1,000, you might think, well, what are you worried about this administrative fee for $1.50? Well, the first thing I thought was, why is the state making money off of this? And then so I did some research on how many people in Georgia are on child support, and it's over 300,000.
Right.
You do the math, and it's almost a $500,000 a month, that they're making off of people being on child support. So yeah, to your point, it is a business. But so you're saying that so you eventually got off. The mother, your son spoke to her professor. Her professor, kind of like opened her eyes to what was really happening, how that was affecting the whole family, and then eventually the mother of your daughter,
Right.
did the same thing.
And what I did was I let them talk. I let both of my kids' mothers talk. She filled her in on what she thought about the child support and such, and she also figured out that, hey, it's not helping us at all. By him not working and being able to find a decent job, it's not helping us.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to take another route.
So how does it work now? Like how do you work the situation now as far as taking care of your children with the I know you're in a relationship now, but with the relationships that you were in when you had children, how are you going about handling that with them now?
It's a little different now. My son's mother, she rarely calls and asks for anything, and I tell her all the time, hey, you need anything? she's a struggling college student. She went back to school, so the only thing she may ask me for is gas money, you know. And hey, no problem, you know. The other one, she let me get my daughter. You know, I enrolled her in school down here in Georgia. She's been with me the whole year. You know, me and her mama, we don't really have any problems, but we don't really talk like we should, I should say. But there's no problems, you know. It's not, hey, I'm gonna throw you back on child support. It's none of that. You know, so I can say the information actually went through her head, and actually it didn't go out the other side. You know what I mean? So she understands the ins and outs of the child support system now.
Once they decided to take you off child support, the mother of your children,
Right.
the mother of your children, how long did it take you? I know you said it took it was not easy.
I feel like it took 3 months or maybe longer, because we had been discussing it. Yeah, we had been discussing it. They just kept giving them the runaround. Especially with my daughter's mom, because it was out of state case now that they moved to North Carolina. I would call their office and they would say, hey, okay, we've sent the release, you know, for you to be off the papers. Then I would go down here and talk to this office. They don't know anything. So it's like they're not on the same page. You know, it's the same business, but they're not on the same page. It's up to you to take the extra step to figure out what you need to do next and who to call and to figure out what you need to do. Because they're not going to tell you.
But they'll put you on it like that.
Right.
They'll put you on it like that.
They will give you a runaround, man. I mean, you're just trying to handle your business, you know, to the best of your abilities. They're not allowing you to. They're giving you the runaround, you know. Basically putting you in a loop. Just keep looping around, you know.
So how many children do you have custody of now?
2.
2? Okay. Okay. And the relationship.
My son stays with his mother.
And the relationship is a lot more cordial now.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't have any problems. She call, ask me for anything, she got it.
Now I appreciate you again telling your story. I appreciate you telling your story. You know, from the time where it was tough and where you know you was on child support and like you said financially on your tail, and then ultimately getting to the point where you're off the child support and you're able to see your children, have custody of two of your children, and you're a living example of both situations. So you got the example where you're on it and it's stressful and it's strenuous on the family, and then you're off of it and everything's a lot more cordial, a lot more cool. You see you're better able to take care of your children. You know, you can protect your livelihood. People can see both ends of the spectrum.
And I mean, personally, I feel like I was far as low as you can go in that situation. And for me to shake out of it, you know, I just feel like there's hope for other guys, you know, before and after child support, you know. I would say before, you should fill her in on the information regarding the bad part of the whole system and what is disabling you from doing, which is going about life and taking care of your business, your family, your household. You have a life outside of child support.
Yes.
You have a spouse or whatever, I mean, what have you. So you have to, financially, it's hard, but it just depends on who you with, you know, that will stick around until that surpass you, you know. It's hard, that's all I can tell you, you know. You just got to stay in there and dig it out, man.
I remember you telling me that it affected the current relationship that you were in because, you know, you're paying all this money out. It's going out of the household.
Right. And
and then you got the household that you're in now being affected, and that caused, you know, stress in the relationship. And I remember you saying that, you know, this particular, in that relationship, they saw what you were going through, you know, with this. And then when that relationship failed, you know, they put you through the same thing.
Yep.
But then ultimately, again, you got off of it, and you know, now you're doing a whole lot better.
Oh yeah. But I would have to say, man, that, you know, at the time, you know, $10 an hour, staying downtown with your, you know, trying to start something with your significant other, paying $17 something a month, and you got child support. You can only pay a phone bill and a light bill, and your significant other got everything else. That takes a toll on your relationship, you know. We were so close to breaking up because of child support, you know. It shouldn't be like that, you know. Because she was fully supportive of my kids. She had no problem being there helping me take care of my kids. It was that child support, you know. They drain you. I don't see a kid spending $400 or $500 a month on anything. whether it's food, clothes. I mean, 400, 500 bucks a month for one child. That's a little extreme.
Yeah.
You know, because I have kids staying with me now, 2 of them. I had 3, but I don't spend not even 200 bucks a month taking care of those kids.
Yeah, the most expensive time is when they're on when you need child care for them. That's the expensive time.
Yes.
So once that's done, it's calms down a lot.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you telling your story, man. This is something that's, like I said, it's a critical part of the movement. You know, telling your story. You know, because when people hear your story, hear what you're going through, hear what you came out of, not only can they identify with what they're going through, but also they realize that something needs to be done about it. This has been going on for decades. So, you know, again, our whole point is to build a coalition of men and women. We need men and women. Men, of course, this is our issue primarily, but women out there who understand and realize understand how this is affecting men out here. You know, we need you all too. This can't be just a movement of men. So again, Father's Care Movement, join the coalition. Paul and I, we're going to be out here. We're going to be out here signing people up, going out to the courthouses and child support offices and grocery stores and all that stuff, signing people up to be a part of the coalition. Go to my website, peaceofjustice.org. That's PEACE of justice.org. And you can reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform you prefer. Join the movement, the coalition of 100,000, the Father's Care Movement. Let's get moving.
And again, it takes a village to raise a kid, and the father's a part of that village. So don't leave the father out if you're watching.
Most definitely. Eloquently put. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. All right. And that's hard to control.
Yeah.
Being that you on the papers and you're trying to eat healthy.
Right.
There's no cheap healthy food out here.
Right.
Everything that's healthy costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
All the bad stuff is cheap, of course. Your bacon, all the unhealthy things.
Right.
But that's something that these guys gonna come across. While they're going through this little journey, and they gotta stick in there and handle it the best way they know how.
Yeah.
Because you can be laid out somewhere, man, just because of you stressing about your kids, your health,
Mm-hmm.
your situation. It'll have you out of here very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't too many people to talk about when it comes to that type of stuff.
Right.
There's no groups that would, the custodial parent, they have little organizations that they can like food stamps and stuff like that. They actually help them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. The non-custodial parents don't have that.
Right.
Nothing. Nobody. No information on being healthy or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you had high blood pressure and you just
High blood pressure.
didn't go to the dentist.
Yeah, couldn't go to the dentist.
Couldn't afford it.
It just basically like a chain reaction. One thing is another. back to back. Like I said, it started with the blood pressure, then it went to heart failure, stuff like that, and it went down to the kidneys and big health problems.
You gotta be careful with that.
Definitely. There's a lot of guys out here that cares about their family. They want to be around for their family.
Right.
When it's all said and done, they don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to die just because you're on child support. You can't take care of yourself. I mean, that's not right.
Yeah, I have a partner who was paying $1,800 a month. Well, actually, he was paying for 4 children. He was married, and had a child with out of his first marriage. He was paying $400 for, which he thought was reasonable. And then he was paying $1,800 for the next 3 with another woman. And he told me about how one day he looked at his check and it had $7 because they had taken out all the money for the child support. He had a paycheck for $7. For $7.
They don't care. I was stuck in North Carolina, man. I filed my taxes. I supposed to got like $3,200 back. I didn't get not $1 out of that money. They took the whole check. I was broke, man. I mean, I was working at a damn hog plant at the time, $7.25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I needed that money. I had my kid up there with me. I'm trying to get married. None of that was able to happen. They took the whole thing. They do not care. There's no how do you say it? There's no compassion.
No
when it comes
compassion.
to,
No empathy. No passion.
whatsoever.
Compassion.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Yeah, it's definitely a business, a lucrative business at that. I would never
You
do
know what
it
I'm saying?
again.
It's not, because a lot of times we get to this, we get bought into this idea of like, if my woman don't want for nothing
Mm-hmm.
and ain't gotta do nothing, I'm the man, you know, and that's
You should interview him too. No, seriously, because he's married.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's not been on child support, but he can tell you the other side of the story.
Yeah.
Where hey, I've never been on child support, and how my life is now. He's taking care of himself. He's taking care of his family. You know, he's with a, you know, this your second marriage, right? Or
Yeah,
something like that.
second marriage, yeah.
Second marriage, you
I
know.
almost would have got put on child support had I adopted.
Right.
My father wanted me to adopt her son.
Well, see, that's the good
And I
guy
didn't.
coming out.
Yeah, I
you
didn't.
know.
And I didn't. Thank God. It wasn't gonna work out. I knew, but I said I knew it wasn't gonna work out. Even before I married her, I knew there was problems. But I was trying, you know how like you say you try to fix
Work it
people.
out.
Fix-
Yeah.
fix-
I got a habit of that
like,
myself.
Like know people who are who they are, you can't change them. And so like knowing that, I knew when I chose my next relationship that I had to be with somebody that had to be on a level already that I needed them to be on.
Right.
And that was my wife.
Yeah, it's tricky, man.
Because you can't go in there thinking you're going to fix them or I'm going to be that great guy and they're going to want to change.
That's what I thought. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just Savory. You know, she was
Yeah.
staying with her father. She came down from North Carolina. He got evicted, lying to her. He was going to see women every day instead of going to find a job. You know what I'm saying? So she get evicted.
Funny thing is,
I take over.
the funny thing is that dude probably got more respect than you did.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about it. Seriously.